So it's just been over a year since I broke the news that the legacy sports nutrition brand EAS was being shuttered. Yet it still lays dormant by Abbott Labs today. So a few days after the 4th of July holiday in 2018, I got forwarded a photo of a letter from Abbott Nutrition. Abbott Nutrition is a division of Abbott Labs, basically saying, hey, we're closing the EAS brand. This is how you need to sell through your product. If you need somehow to return product, this is how you do it. But basically a letter outlining that, hey, we're closing the doors. And when I read it, I initially just kind of put it online and just kind of made some commentary around EAS because I worked at Muscle Farm, another Denver-based sports nutrition company. There was a lot of ex-employees from EAS there. The CEO was also kind of enamored by EAS, so EAS was kind of a common thread. So I made some commentary around that. But what I didn't realize was that it wasn't really public out there. That letter was for the kind of their biggest retailers. They didn't really make any commentary publicly yet. Abbott Labs didn't make a commentary. So I didn't check social media. I didn't check anything to make sure that was going on. So the post kind of got a lot of attention, a lot of shares, a lot of people that were shocked. A lot of people thought it wasn't real, but it did end up being real. And those watching this video, I'm not sure if you know too much about EAS. This is a brand that is a little bit before my time even, but I did have a little bit of association, like I said, when I was at Muscle Farm, but also before when I go to the Arnold Classic. They always had a really cool booth. It was kind of set up like a sports arena over in the corner, and used to get a bunch of free products. So as a college kid or a high school kid, when I used to go to the Arnold Classic to grab some free samples and things like that, they were a brand that I loved because they gave out a lot. But just to give you guys a short timeline, if you're not aware of EAS at all, in 1992, EAS was founded by Anthony Almeida and Ed Bird. Around the next year, 1993, they started messing around with creatine after they saw some different scientific journals that were relating it to physical training, strength training, those types of things. And that was when they launched the first commercially available creatine product called Phosphagen. Now, Phosphagen kind of took everybody by storm. Specifically, Bill Phillips caught wind of it, really enjoyed it, and actually in 1994, Bill Phillips bought EAS from Almeida and Bird. Bill Phillips might be known to a lot of you guys. It's kind of, to me, the OG influencer. This is well before social media, well before anything, but Bill Phillips was out there writing a lot of articles and newsletters and books and on his website and email, things like that. So you had Bill Phillips kind of being a big driver of influence in the fitness, sports nutrition type of spaces. And Bill Phillips grew EAS to this powerhouse brand within sports nutrition. Sports nutrition at this time was just getting started with this hyper-growth type of mentality. It was just kind of getting a lot more legitimacy around it. You were getting a lot of innovation, different products that were getting introduced into the market. And in 1999, Bill Phillips sold 2/3 of EAS to a private equity firm called North Castle Partners. Now, Bill Phillips stayed on and continued to grow the business. Bill Phillips sold the rest of it, his 1/3 of his percentage, in 2004. That was right around the time when I think North Castle Partners was starting to figure out that they wanted to exit the business as well to a larger strategic. So in 2005, they sold that business to Abbott Laboratories. And Abbott Laboratories paid about $320 million in cash or stock equivalents. I'm not exactly sure how it was structured completely. But by the mid-2000s, EAS had really transitioning into the legacy business that they continued to be until their closure in 2018. You only saw the products mostly in those food, drug, mass convenience retailers or in international markets. Now, if you're interested in some of my general thoughts around like legacy brands, why they struggle, why they continue not to be relevant, and maybe some reasons of why maybe EAS closed, I'll pop up a video here for you guys. But this video, I want to focus on why Abbott Labs has still not sold the EAS asset in a year. So from my calculations, from some of the financials of Abbott Labs, I was able to kind of figure out that the EAS business was about a $60 million a year business when it closed on a trailing 12. That was what kind of was written off from a comparative standpoint. And I'm not sure how familiar you guys are with Abbott Labs, just how big Abbott Labs is, but just to give you guys some perspective here, Abbott Labs this year will be on pace probably around $32 billion, so that's with a B. And within that, Abbott Nutrition segment, the adult nutritionals, that's where the EAS brand sat at. That divisional subcategory is a $3.2 billion business, again with a B. So we're talking about very big numbers here. If we talk about the $60 million that EAS contributed to Abbott Labs financials, it's a rounding error for the portfolio, and it's about 2% for that divisional subcategory. So if you add in the business is struggling, and EAS had to put a bunch of resources to try to figure out how to maybe help it grow, and they've went through a ton of different iterations to try to get it back to maybe where it was going. You could see from a business perspective, from a black and white type of perspective, like Abbott Labs needed to close it, just get rid of it. Now, the difference is they closed it and created a dormant brand over selling it off to somebody. And $60 million in the sports nutrition industry is a big business. Again, if you think about this is probably 95% of brands they are bigger than. So from sports nutrition industry, there's a lot of value to that name because that's a lot of business that potentially could be made. If you can operate the business, if you have a better understanding of the sports nutrition space, you could honestly probably create some value out of that asset. And you might be thinking like, maybe nobody's asked about it. Maybe people just forgot about it. And what I'll say is that, people definitely sniffed and tried to kick the tires around this. I'm not going to say why or how I know those types of things, but what I'll say is that, people have asked about how they can create a sale around this EAS name. But let's get back to the point of the video here and just kind of ask the question again, like, why hasn't Abbott Labs sold the EAS asset? Honestly, it's very unknown to me. There could be so many different reasons why, and maybe they have some plans for it in the future or whatever it is. But the longer they hold this as a dormant brand, the less value it gets. I mean, it kind of diminishes in value day by day. So if they are going to flip it and sell it at one point, they need to be kind of figuring out that quickly, because the longer it waits, the longer people forget about the brand as a whole. But we just think about positives of the asset. It does still have a lot of international brand equity. A lot of the markets that are 5 or 10 years behind the US market, they had products that worked in those countries, were approved in those countries. They had a brand that was well known in those countries. So it had this aspect of legacy that could be utilized as a positive to the asset. It also had market vetted food, drug, mass convenient products, specifically around some of the ready-to-drink and ready-to-eat Myoplex products. And they also had some very strong Amazon listings. I was surprised at that when I looked right after the announcement. I was like, well, I can't be doing much on Amazon. And their products had very strong merchandising rankings. So there was a ton of people that were still going on there to purchase products. And another positive we talked about earlier, that it's kind of a negative for Abbott Laboratories, but it's a positive for any buyer, is that it's getting cheaper by the day. Now, alternatively, let's think about the negatives to this asset. Those food, drug, mass convenient slots that they had and controlled for a long period of time are no longer available. Those have been filled by somebody else, so you don't have those available to you if you are purchasing that brand. There's not really any brand equity for the US market, millennials and younger. You still have probably a lot of equity with some of the older buyers, but where a good chunk of the sales are coming from, those customers have no idea what EAS is or why they should be purchasing them. And you also wouldn't get much infrastructure because they closed this down. It was just a part of the Abbott Nutrition segment of the business division of Abbott Laboratories. When you go out and purchase a brand, you're not going to get some maybe manufacturing facilities, some key employees, maybe some key capabilities. Not going to get any of that. You're going to get some bones and guts that maybe you can work with. So who would potentially want EAS? When I initially put out some videos around the legacy brand, I kind of was thinking about it. And my first initial thought was more towards Glanbia. Glanbia went out and then purchased SlimFast, so I think it doesn't really make any sense anymore. I also think it potentially creates some cannibalization that Glanbia is already kind of struggling with right now. Now, obviously the price is right and it's super cheap. I mean, Glanbia could flip it and make money on it really quick, but I would say they're probably out at this point. If you think about other strategics, CPG portfolios, you look at maybe like a Clorox. Again, I don't think it really fits. They did close Champion Nutrition, a part of their Nutrinex acquisition, so it doesnit seem like they want to be in the sports performance nutrition products. But there's a lot of other portfolios, CPG portfolios, that may have some interest in it. It just kind of depends. I wouldn't say that there's a ton of probably interest at that point. I thought of one maybe like an Amazon, because they already know there's been a bunch of sales on their platform. They're looking to add private label products. That is a brand that people know and they're able to kind of get traction really quick. Might be an interesting purchase by Amazon. They don't generally go out and purchase consumer brands, but you just never know. I think it's a long shot as well, but it's just something to throw out there. But most commonly, it's probably going to be something like a private equity firm, again, that goes out and purchases this. They put it back into food, drug, mass convenience. Maybe they do something international only, or they look to add this because there's some synergies. Maybe they believe they're going to create some economies of scale with purchasing and things like that. Maybe they're adding a bunch of these different kind of vertically integrated type of businesses that all kind of seem to work together. I'm not sure, but that could be something they could be thinking about. And just for fun, I just kind of figured out, what would I do with the EAS asset if I had the money to purchase it? I think most importantly, what you guys will see by all these kind of comments that I'm going to have is that I'm going to be really focusing on stripping this down. I'm not going to be adding a lot of bloat from marketing and a bunch of different things. I'm really going to be focusing on where I think I'm going to get the most value out of this business. So I'm going to be really focused on international markets, and even at that point, international markets, I would even think about licensing the EAS name to some of those bigger markets, those distributors that have spent decade or plus building that brand within their territories, and maybe at this point it got stripped away, they lost that business. I would be engaging those to kind of focus on that. That takes away a lot of the resources needed. The distributor can be doing a lot of that on their own dime. Like I said, kind of the stripped down marketing budget. I would be focusing on re-engaging and kind of restarting that legacy storytelling, and really kind of driving that as being something that's trusted, being something that's high quality, innovative, kind of restarting that story, making sure that it is done on a global stage, really focused digitally. But I would be kind of focusing my marketing dollars, if I had any, towards a very much like a localized international approach, supporting those international distributors where I think I'm going to get the most value out of it. This would go without saying, but we'd be looking at a skeleton staff at this point, not adding a lot of bloat for no reason. I think that the best play would be to add this to an existing portfolio that already has some shared sales, general, and administrative type of resources, or some type of vertical integration, maybe a contract manufacturer. You can create an environment that could pay back that return on investment much quicker. So going into year 2, we'll see if Abbott Laboratories decides to maybe do something with the EAS name, maybe sell the EAS name. If anything happens, you guys know I'll be the place that will create a video, article, post, something like that. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you want to help support me, make sure you guys hit that thumbs up button on this video. If this is the first time you've been introduced to my videos, would love for you guys to be a part of my community by subscribing to my channel. I upload several videos just like this weekly. And if you guys want to connect further outside of this platform, I do include all of my social media links down below. I just want to thank you guys again for your time. Hopefully I gave you some value in return, and we'll see you guys on the next video.